Hello, everybody. My name is Aiden, and I'm the founder and owner of PRYSM Motorsport. Today, I'm going to show you how we take our pictures for our social media and how we kind of get more realistic pictures as opposed to, something like this that I put in the wrong way. That. Before we get started, I want to thank all the people on social media with our Instagram, mostly our LinkedIn, and a little bit of our Facebook for supporting us through, the beginning of our team. And I also want to congratulate the drivers for getting their first ever major event win, actually with the car that you're seeing on screen now for Daytona for the recent 24-hour Daytona race. So I'm going to tell you right now, I don't feel 100%. I'm very sick. However, I wanted to make this video because it popped in my head, and once I think of something, I got to do it. So now, when it comes to these photos, what I'm talking about is we want it to be realistic. What does that mean? Well, how do you see IMSA photos? How do you see NASCAR photos? How do you see WEC photos when somebody's taking a picture from a camera? Where are they usually at? Behind a wall, on a tower, or spotter stand, or wherever, or in the grandstands taking a picture. Because of this, a lot of people are going to say, oh well, it's a sim, you can take photos however you want, you can get right up next to the car. If that's the mindset you want to keep, by all means do that, but this isn't the video for you then, because that's not how we're looking at it. So now when it comes to photos like this, you want to think the entire monitor, in this case the screen that you're seeing, is the entire screen of the camera, because it is. Now, you look at the center of your screen, that's specifically where it's looking. And it's kind of a trick with general photography, and I use this when I take pictures of actual cars. A lot of the time, if you have a picture of the car where it's sitting like this, you want to either have it, I'm not in iRacing, that might help. You want to either have it like this, dead on, or have it just off to the angle, just off an angle from the car. Reason you can do this is because then say, I want like a trail shot of the car, right? Like somebody's, trying to follow the car, but they want the car at the bottom right while it's speeding by. You could do Alt A or D to rotate, and then you bring it up just like that. Done. You got yourself a tracker shot. Say I want more of a head on shot, right? I'll bring the camera over. And in this case, again, where would the cameraman be sitting? I don't know, because there's a wall here, right? Damn, dude, Lamar is a big ass track. What the? Okay, there we go. Jeez Louise. So now we're behind a wall, right? And I got my car zoomed in here. And this is another thing with the aperture, or not the aperture, the like their field of view. When you zoom into the car, um, this has kind of been something that my drivers have been wondering. And this is a big thing for a lot of people, is how do I know when I have too much or too little zoom? Well, for instance, that's too much zoom. That's fucking ridiculous, right? Whereas this is not enough zoom, but it kind of gets the job done. You have to think you want the car to fill more of the screen than you think it does while still keeping a bit of the background in view. So in this case, let me straighten it out. Or we'll do this just for a little flair. In this case, we'll say you want the car like that, right? That's pretty decent, right? That gets the point across. You see the car very well. You can see the sponsors on the nose. You can see the design. You can see the driver inside, but you can still see a good chunk of the background. And when I say you want to see the background, you don't want it sitting like this. That's ridiculous. Like, oh, but look, it's centered. I don't care. I can't tell where you're at. I mean, I can tell where I'm at because that's Le Mans and I know this track, but anybody else would be like, what are we looking at? Where are we? And I mean, you're more than welcome to do this for like, you know, banners for like Discord or something. That's fine. But in the case of where you want to take a good picture for your team, something like this is better because again, you're getting most of the background and you still see the car clear as day. I want a side shot of the car, right? I want to have a dead on side shot of this car, right? And you're at a specific point in the track, for example, where like this, I'm clipping through the track, right? I can see through the track, but I want the shot to be this close. I want it to be just like this. Okay. And you can do that. So what you do is if you're trying to do something to where you want the walls to kind of vanish, you take your clip distance and you up it, right? In this case, the track is showing, so, or the, you know, void of nothing is showing. So I want just that much, right? So you can still see the car. You can almost zoom in here. This is a good amount of zoom for a side shot. You can see the car clear as day. You can see the design. You can see the sponsors. You can see the team. You can see the driver, but you can still see the background. You can also mess with your motion blur. I always keep my motion blur on. I have it on ultra because motion blur just makes photos look 40 million times better, and you can't tell me otherwise. And if you want to do that, what you'll need to do is go to graphics here in your settings, and then go down to the post-processing effects, and then the first thing is your motion blur. So this will be while you're in the car. This is while you're in replay. So replay, I have it on ultra. In the car, I have it on medium because you don't really notice it. And these are my settings. You can copy them if you want. Now, I don't typically have like a heat haze or distortion because it's not really that good. And it, like this one says, it eats a lot of video memory. And like I have a 4080 with 12 gigs of VRAM, but it'll chew it up like nothing. So I don't typically have that on. That is another thing, is when you are at a certain distance with your car, like zoom wise, if you actually look at our Pep Lab logo here, we zoom out enough, you can see it starts to, it's like a really boxy, pixelated stuff on it. That's because of the render distance thing, whatever it is. But then when you're close, then it's clean. Now, when it comes to side-on shots, if you're doing a wallpaper, something like this is more than acceptable. Like, side-on shots are a little bit different because you can see, again, the car. You'll see a lot of the car, but you'll also see a lot of the background. So side-on shots with certain cars, you're more than welcome to kind of zoom in a bit more, but don't go like this. Obviously, you don't really want it to fill the entire thing. You can, but again, this is kind of for like if you're trying to do socials. If you're just trying to take pictures, and by all means do something like this, right? It doesn't matter. But you always want the car dead center. Always want the car dead center for something like this. But if you want it to be kind of lower in the picture, lower in the frame, right? You zoom out enough and then you just bring it up. Now, in order to be able to do this, where like, I'm able to rotate the camera and everything on the X or the Y PNR, or I guess the YMP, you want to switch the aim type from at car or at group to static. These don't matter. At least I don't think they do. I've never touched them. And then you're able to do that. Because if you see, if I go to at car, you can't hear it, but I'm pressing my arrow keys. By the way, arrow keys is how you uh, can do that. Again, Alt A and Alt D rotates it. Alt W and S actually rotates it up and down, whereas W and S, brings it back and front, and A and D obviously does this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to a different corner. Now these are types of shots that I really enjoy to take, where the car is, going over the curb, and you can tell it's obviously going kind of quick over the curb. With these types of photos, again, we're trying to make it kind of realistic to how like an actual like IMSA or WEC photographer would, take the picture. In this case, we don't want a ton of motion blur because if you're sitting there and you're following the car, it's really not moving that fast on the horizon. So you're not like, like you're not trying to track it at the speed of sound. So your motion blur shouldn't be that. Like that's a little ridiculous. If you like it, then you like it. But again, if we want the realism, you keep it around here, and then, it looks a little bit better. When it comes to these shots and trying to keep them in the corner, it's not really that tricky to figure out where the corner is of where you want that car. It's more so of okay, where's the center point? Dead center of the screen, right? I want the car down and to the right a little bit. Okay. You can either try and aim the corner of the rear, you know, bit like this. Try and aim it at the corner of the monitor or something. And that kind of gets you a pretty good relative on where it should be. But it's basically, think of it as the screen being in four like quadrants or four rectangles, right? You want it in the bottom right rectangle from the center. So a line down the center and then a line down the center on the horizon. You keep the car at the bottom right of that two sets of lines, you got your, good photo. And then if I wanted the top for whatever reason, oops, I'm gonna want the left top again for whatever reason, right? Or if I want it at the bottom left, that's actually kind of a cool photo. There are certain photos that we take, like for our social media, for example, when we won the Daytona 24, where we had, you know, the car kind of, oh, damn, where we had the camera in kind of a unrealistic spot. In this case, we had it like this, right? That was because we wanted to show the car and we had a specific idea with the graphic. And then for shots like this, if you realistically, there's like a specific type of photo that you want to take, but like you're not close to a wall or something in this case, right? You can kind of trick it a little bit to where it looks realistic or it looks like a nuclear bomb is going off running from the nuclear wasteland. So you can kind of change where you're at and make it to where you're, in this case, above the sand, right? But it still looks like, the photo is taken like behind a wall or something rather. Ooh, a little freaky there. Now this one's a good one actually. Oh, my speed is low. Here's a wall, right? And I want, in this case, Dunlop sign to be in view with the car at the very bottom. Now, the Dunlop sign is way too blurry. Why is it like that? Well, this type of shot, you have to think of it as you're sitting still and you're just looking at Dunlop, and then you snap the picture when the car's coming down the hill. So in this case, you're going to drop the blur down. Boom. You got yourself a nice little cinematic shot for Le Mans, right? My wheel is vibrating next to me because I have a Moza and that has that like haptic shifting thing. Get a shot like this, right? Sitting behind the wall. We've got Dunlop. Oh, we don't have Dunlop in the back. I guess for this example, we won't have the Dunlop. But we can turn up the motion blur again. Now, there's something that you have to be careful of. Depending on where you're at on the track, can actually cause the wheels, at least like right here, to make it seem like they're hollow and they're like ghosts, they're see-through. And in order to fix that, you gotta just bring down your, motion blur. But in this case, here's another one on the wall. Okay, well, I want a close-up shot of the car being right next to the bollard, but not killing it. Okay, so bring it back to the wall, or behind the wall, anyways. And you can also you can bring these kind of higher. You don't have to be specifically right here. You can bring it up, and then you zoom in again. Notice how I don't have the car completely. Yeah, see how it's because it's right on the car, so it blurs only the bottom part that isn't technically on the car. Um, so that's kind of stupid. Kind of get the car as much in the frame as you can, like that, while making it center. Not center, We want it down below a little bit here. If you want it dead center, you just kind of look like that. In this case, I'm looking at the gas cap, right? And then there you go. You got another photo. So basically, the easiest way to remember any of this is where would a photographer shoot? Motion blur. Make sure that's on. Remember the 4 quadrants of a screen, or, you're taking a corner shot like that. And there is some scenarios that you can be sitting on the track or, you know, in like the sand or grass or whatever. If any of this confused you, let me know. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more. Make sure you do the bell so that you never miss a video from us. We're going to be doing a lot of live streaming here once we can figure out whose computer can stream. I may start streaming myself. Make sure to check out our website. It's in our channel, links. We'll also put it in the description. Get yourself some PRYSM Motorsport merch. And again, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day.